Welcome to the channel. You are with me, and I'm just going to come in front of the camera. I was just trying to check whether I'm going live. I've gone live or not. So I hope you can now see me and hear me properly. And today's session, I'll be doing. I'm planning to do 2 articles with you, and these 2 articles. Pehla, let's do one first. Let's do one article first. और मैं अपने फ़ोन में ये लाइव स्ट्रीम को खोल भी लेता हूँ. Right, so good evening everybody. Welcome to the session. Welcome to the class. So we are rebranding this late night sessions that I'm doing. We are going to call it Arun Sir ki live class. More in tune with the times. But let's focus on the content. Good evening, Vedant. Welcome. So first article I'm doing is something. It's actually a summarization of a book by Thomas Piketty, which is called The Capital. And according to The Economist, there's an old article from The Economist, but I found it very good and influential from the context of what I wanted to inform you guys. And it's a very brief summary of capital in the 21st century. So this is a book by Thomas Piketty. So let's look at what it's a summary of that book. So I guess this will add a lot of value to what we know as we start reading this. So it is the economics book that took the world by storm. Capital in the 21st Century, written by French economist Thomas Piketty, was published in French in 2013 and in English in March 2014. The English version quickly became an unlikely bestseller and prompted a broad and energetic debate on the book's subject, the outlook for global inequality. So the subject of the book, is the outlook for world inequality. I need the pen here, इसलिए आप खोलना जरूरी है. So the subject of the book. Let me just get the background into a blue background. So yeah, great to hear that. Vedant says that he's been hearing my Josh talk every day. That's good to hear, good to know. And those of you who have not watched it, please do head over to the Josh talk channel and you can watch that. Hi Angel, happy Holi to you all. Here. Can put it on. Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's okay now. Right. So this book by Thomas Piketty is on what The Economist says the outlook for global inequality. So inequality and global inequality is something that is a concern of economists across the world. All across the world, economists, basic question, even if you read economic theory, the distribution of public resources into various sections of society and how it should be done is a big question that is always there, and that question is also referred to as distributional question. Okay, how do you distribute resources, how do you distribute public resources? तो ये जो बुक है इसके बारे में, so 4 पैराग्राफ्स में इकोनॉमिस्ट ने बहुत अच्छे से इसको समराइज किया हुआ है. And those of you think that I only read the Economist, I'll be picking up a few things from Guardian, etc. also very quickly as we keep going on. Or Eon se some of you had been asking me to read some Eon articles, and this Arun sir ki live class is going to be not just about reading or information based focus तो रहेगा, but I'll also do some quant solving, कभी DI solving करेंगे, साथ में करते हैं. Let's get more people onto this thing. Do spread the word around, do help me do this, because it does take effort, after doing everything that I do in the whole day. उसके बाद रात को to motivate yourself this thing, and the more people who join, the more it becomes good for me. Anyway, let's come back to the topic. और मेरा एक simple logic है कि अगर मैं value दूंगा तो दुनिया मेरे को value वापस देगी. So that's the basic logic that I work on, and you should build your career on the same logic. कि अगर तुम value दोगे दुनिया को, कोई भी career start करोगे, you give value into that career, you become a marketing guy, you become a finance guy, you create value through the work you do, you create value for the world will give you back. वो हमेशा देता है. It cannot be something that it's a one-way street. You keep giving good quality out and you don't get things back. You'll always get that back, and I'm quite sure that it's worked in my life in every domain. So I don't see the reason, as far as I can be consistent, why YouTube will not understand that. So let's come back to this. मेरे Josh Talk को तुम Arun Sharma Josh Talk search कर लो, Komal, I think you'll find it. It's got more than 10 lakh views, more than 1 million views. And by the way, the channel, although our channel is not as invigorating or as energetic as a lot of other channels are, because of my off and on work, कभी मेरा book का revision and all आ जाता है तो मैं थोड़ा सा off हो जाता हूँ, but because of that, but we still achieved a big milestone last week, and that was 5 million views on the channel. So that's something that tells us or keeps us invigorated. Let's keep coming back. So capital draws on more than a decade of research by Piketty and a handful of other economists. So who's Thomas Piketty? He is a French economist. So detailing historical challenges in the concentration of income and wealth. So obviously income and wealth अगर concentrate होगा तो obviously distribution का issue हो जाता है, right? So they have done a research of a decade plus, 10 years plus of research किया इन लोग ने, Piketty और a handful of other economists ने, कि concentration of income and wealth का क्या changes हुआ है across the world में. And this pile of data allows Piketty to sketch out the evolution of inequality since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. That means 17th, 18th century से he's picked up data, and based on that he's created this what he talks about as the evolution of inequality. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Western European society was highly unequal. Private wealth dwarfed national income, as was concentrated in the hands of the rich families who sat atop a relatively rigid class structure. ये चीज़ हम लोग अपने हिस्ट्री लेसन से भी जानते हैं कि you had those lords. I mean, they are talking about Europe and कहाँ का बात कर रहे हैं, Western European society. So that's obviously the richest countries of the 18th, 19th century were mostly Western European, and they are saying that since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, मतलब Western European society बहुत unequal था, and private wealth was much bigger. It dwarfed national income, and I'm tempted to go on to that link to see what they say about it. Anyway, वो बाद में देखूँगा मैं. If something good comes out of that, I'll also talk about it. And this was concentrated in the hands of the rich families who sat atop a relatively rigid class structure. This system persisted even as industrialization slowly contributed to rising wages for workers, Only the chaos of the First and Second World Wars and the Depression disrupted this pattern. High taxes, inflation, bankruptcies, and the growth of sprawling welfare states caused wealth to shrink dramatically and ushered in a period in which both income and wealth were distributed in relatively egalitarian fashion. So he's talking about something which is very counterintuitive. मतलब ये counterintuitive ये है कि जब वर्ल्ड वॉर्स हुए दोनों और डिप्रेशन हुआ, डिप्रेशन द ग्रेट डिप्रेशन वाज समथिंग दैट हैपेंड इन 1929. तो जब वर्ल्ड वॉर्स हुए और ग्रेट डिप्रेशन हुआ तो उस टाइम द वर्ल्ड एक्चुअली वेंट थ्रू एन इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस, राइट. और उसके कारण something very unexpected happened, and that he is talking about here is that income and wealth got distributed more evenly than it was when without the disruptions. So he is saying what it did was it because of the high taxes, inflation and bankruptcies which were created because of the world wars and the Great Depression, the growth of and the growth of sprawling welfare states. So this caused wealth to shrink dramatically and ushered in a period in which both income and wealth were distributed relatively egalitarian. Egalitarian का मतलब equal as it can be, right? So chalo, thanks for that, Shubham, and I hope more people join in as we keep going. So anyway, but the shocks of the excuse me, but the shocks of the early 20th century have faded and wealth is now reasserting itself. मतलब फिर से जो इक्वालिटी आया था बिकॉज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड वॉर्स एंड बिकॉज ऑफ द ग्रेट डिप्रेशन, वो फिर से अब ख़त्म हो रहा है. एंड अगेन द वेल्थ इज गोइंग बैक टू द कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड few individuals and families. On many measures, Piketty reckons the importance of wealth in modern economies is approaching levels last seen before the First World War. So this is the first paragraph here. So from this history, Piketty derives the grand theory of capital and inequality. So this is the background. So this is the issue about, or this is the structure that they are talking about in terms of what was this thing. So what you gather from this and the information you gather from this is that wealth concentration was very high in the 17th, 18th century. According to that last paragraph, the wealth in a few individuals' hands was even greater and was much larger than even entire countries had, right? But then this pattern was disrupted by the world wars and welfare states आने के बाद. So early 20th century में the welfare states started happening. So this is a mixture of sociology, economics and history in a lot of ways when you get to know this entire string. So the world wars had a counterintuitive. So I mean, one of the things that I always talk about to you guys, and one of the things that I talk about, and I'm deviating from this and talking about something which is important for all of you, is that I mean, and I've been in a lot of interviews myself, where I have taken interviews at various B schools, etc., and even job interviews where I've been part of when I've been consulting companies. So there is the well-informed individual and there's the ill-informed individual, and essentially most of it, since our education system does not really inform us much apart from the academic structure or whatever people decide that this is what the kids should study. So what happens is most of us, unless we get information and we have created that information from sources outside our academic rigor and curriculum, we actually end up reaching our working age mostly in an ill-informed state. So the journey of moving from ill-informed to well-informed is something that each one of us needs to undertake. Or while you can blame other people and other and systems for what happened to you and what you learned and what you did not learn for a long time in your life, is my voice not coming again? Not audible? Am I audible or no? I think my voice is okay. Right? So the journey, I mean, you cannot keep blaming somebody else. I mean, as an 18-20-year-old, you can blame somebody कि मेरे को ये नहीं मिला, मेरे को वो नहीं मिला, मेरे को कॉलेज में एजुकेशन अच्छा नहीं मिला, या मेरे टीचर्स अच्छे नहीं थे, या मेरा सिस्टम अच्छा नहीं था. बट कब तक करोगे ब्लेम? You cannot keep blaming other and out external sources. As you move through your 20s and early 30s, and you move into becoming a full-blown individual who's actually working in a professional this thing, you are responsible. I mean, as an 18-year-old, the system is more responsible for you than who you are. And but as a 22, 23, 25-year-old, you're supposed to have moved, and that's actually the movement from being a boy, girl to becoming a man, woman. So if you're transiting, this movement is important. And I'll talk about this maybe more as we go into more of these sessions going forward. I'll talk about this more for you as a system, but let's come back to this. So when you get to know this this structure, and you get more informed about things around the world and about events and issues across the world, you start that movement bit by bit, one piece of information at a time. And on this channel, I want to actually help you through that journey. So coming back, from this history, Piketty derives a grand theory of capital and inequality. Which history? The history he's talked about of income and wealth distribution. So he derives a grand theory of capital and inequality as a general rule. So what is the theory? As a general rule, wealth grows faster than economic output. He explains. A concept he captures in the expression R greater than G, where R is the rate of return to wealth and G is the economic growth rate. So this is his theory, that the rate of return to wealth is greater than the economic growth rate. So other things being equal, faster economic growth will diminish the importance of wealth in a society, whereas slower growth will increase it. And demographic change that slows global growth will make capital more dominant. So let's try to understand this. So R greater than G वाला तो समझ में आ गया हम लोग को. I think that's clear. That if the general rule is that wealth will grow faster than economic output. So GDP से growth rate से faster तुम्हारा wealth पे growth rate या wealth पे return आएगा, right? तो एक point तो ये हो गया. Now ये next line में क्या बोल रहा है? And this is also a lesson in comprehension. All this I'm doing to help you improve your ability to read and perceive. So other things being equal, अगर सब कुछ equal कर दो, and that's a favorite economic thought कि सब कुछ other things being equal, this relates to that, or this is directly proportional to that. These kind of structures are very common in economics and a lot of other subjects. So other things being equal, so what are the key factors? So ये part तो side point है. Main point is faster economic growth will diminish the importance of wealth in a society, whereas slower growth will increase it. So इसको अगर हम लोग अपने notepad पे वापस डालते हैं, what they are saying is economic growth अगर faster होगा तो wealth का importance decrease करेगा, और economic growth अगर slower होगा तो wealth का importance increase करेगा. तो intuitively भी ये समझ में आता है कि ज़्यादा economic growth है तो सबके पास पैसा आने लगेगा, तो obviously wealth का importance increase कर जाएगा, और slower economic growth है तो wealth का importance reduce कर जाएगा. So that was talking about, and demographic change that slows global growth will be, अगर demographic change के कारण global growth अगर कम हो गया तो capital will become more dominant. That means wealth will become more important. So this is the key point that he's making. But there are no natural forces pushing against the steady concentration of wealth. Only a burst of rapid growth. तो steady concentration of wealth के खिलाफ कोई natural forces नहीं है. Only a burst of rapid growth from technological progress or rising population. or government intervention can be counted on to keep economies from returning to the patrimonial capitalism that worried Karl Marx. Okay, so ये वर्ड को गूगल कर लेना. कार्ल मार्क्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कुछ है patrimonial capitalism, right? So this will give you an insight into something that with respect to Karl Marx's thought. Maybe इसको मैं बाद में देखता हूँ क्या exactly, but you can make sure patri obviously means family or paternal, and patrimonial capitalism is basically, again, it could mean talking about dynasties and about, I mean, generic without actually researching the word. अगर मैं